Hi, welcome to this week Dragonblade Authors Unplugged. We have a light week this week, which is not going to happen very often. So I'm going to take a minute and take a breath because we only have two releases this week, and it's the first one is Susan King's release, and then we have April Moran. Ladies, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, thank you.
Well, let's dive right in, and we'll start with Susan's book. And this is actually a re-release for you. Is that correct?
It is. It's book 3 in a trilogy that's about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Heart of the Highlands. Heart of the Highlands.
Heart of the Highlands. Hearts in the Highlands.
Hearts in the Highlands. I did of the Highlands. I couldn't find in the Highlands. Yeah. And then it's the Countess. It's Countess of Legends is the title.
Countess of Legends is book 3 in this trilogy. The first one is Laird of Storms. The second is Princess of Shadows, and they're Victorian Scotland.
And you don't get that very often.
Yeah, and that was really interesting to work with, and also because all 3 of the heroes are basically civil engineers. So I had to dive into that.
So we learn how stuff works.
Yeah, well, building stuff, roads and bridges and lighthouses. So, and my dad was a civil engineer. He owned a road construction company up in and so when I originally wrote these 3 books, it was great because I got to sit down with my dad, take him out to lunch, and pick his brain on
nice.
How do you blow up a hill, Dad? So, and that was a lot of fun because the techniques that he used, in the 50s and 60s and 70s when he had this company, and then it got really difficult, and we ended up down here in Maryland. He sold the company and said, I don't want to do this anymore. So he started working for IBM. So we had a big life change and ended up down in the DC suburbs. Because of that, the techniques that he used were very similar to the old Victorian.
Cool. Oh, so, very cool.
Yeah, so that was very handy, and so he told me how to set black powder and, how to blow through rock, stuff that I kind of knew he was doing when I was little, but I didn't know anything about it. So it was really cool to sit down with him and find out what he did and the, the things that happened, how do you grade a hill? Well, you don't go straight up, you go zigzag, so he helped me a lot with this.
I bet he loved that too.
I
bet he loved that too.
Yeah, he enjoyed it.
Like a different way.
Finally, showed some interest because he had 4 girls, and we were like, "What?" The roads. Dad, you're tan and your shirt is dirty. I mean, your boots are muddy. But he designed a lot of the highways up in the upstate, so it was good. The Countess of Legends is the one where I really used the road building, and sometimes they would do bridges, and so a lot of what he told me is in that book. The first book, what is the name of that book? Laird of Storms is a lighthouse book.
Oh, cool!
And that was fun to do because there's a fabulous book called The Lighthouse Stevensons. Bella Bathurst, I think, is the author. And she wrote this book about Robert Louis Stevenson's family, who were very well known as engineers and designers in Scotland in the 19th century. And they primarily built lighthouses, like these great big gorgeous things out on rocks.
They're tumbling down.
It's amazing. So I pulled from that for Laird of Storms. He's a lighthouse engineer, and she is the wealthy baroness who doesn't want him to build on her island. So that was a lot of fun. And the second book, he's also a road engineer there. He's cutting a road through an area of the Highlands where a Pictish site is discovered. And she's an antiquarian. And so she's, determined to stop him from cutting through this thing.
Wrecking her
he's-
stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, this is my land. This part of the road is my land, and I'm doing what I want." But it goes into a lot of. I was able to bring in graphic like painting for some of her backstory, and
Oh, interesting.
you know, when you get into the Victorian stuff, you can do things that you can't always tap when with the Regency or a lot of my books are medieval. So, and my graduate work is in art history, and I taught art history in college and university, and so to be able to jump into that too with the archaeology and the painting, the Victorian era painting was had something to really play with there that I couldn't before with other books. So yeah, so these three are a lot of fun, and the covers are gorgeous.
Oh, the covers of all of them are gorgeous.
Oh,
They're just gorgeous, and the women on them are just like so
Daughter's covers are
Wow.
unbelievable.
lovely.
You just give her a couple little facts and she just grabs it.
Yeah.
She totally gets it.
Tell us about the heroine in this book.
Which one? Countess of Legends?
House of Legends.
She is she's a folk song collector.
Oh,
This was something that they were very aware of at this time in Scotland, that they're losing their identity. They're losing it to the English takeover, which was in 1707, but it's, still, it's really invasive.
Yeah. well, and
Culture.
they were stomping out too.
Yeah,
yeah,
with the clearances. And
it was
so they were losing their identity. And there were folk song collectors who would go around the Highlands and learn these songs, retranslate them, because a lot of them were in Gaelic, not written down, not captured in any form. And as the older people were, dying off, as they do, then they're losing this whole part of their cultural identity. So she's dedicated to this, and she's also a singer, and so she's learning the songs. And he is the sort of estranged earl of that glen. He hasn't been around since he was, probably in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back about 10 years later. And he's now earl. And he's bringing in some changes, because the government was responsible for deciding a lot of these new pathways and routes through the Highlands. And it was good for the Highlands. It was good for Scotland to connect communities that were so remote. They just, I'll walk 2 days over to, such and such. So to put the roads through, and the bridges were so important with so much water in this, in this geographical environment. So he's going to do this, but what happens is that they have sort of a cute meet. A snowy day, she's coming back from collecting some songs, as she does, and he's a hill climber, which was another thing that Victorians were very much into. And it's it's snowy and icy and whatever, and he loses his grip at one point. His partner says, "I'm done with this," and he leaves. So he's alone, and he falls, and she helps him, and they get stranded.
Oh, I love it that he fell into
It's
her.
fun when they're stranded.
Yeah, that's usually what we do. Yeah.
Stranded in a snowstorm, always fun. So that's why she's Countess of Legends, because they have to marry after this. Her father, the minister, demands it when they're found. Her father, the minister, demands it, and that sort of thing. And it works out for him because he sees that maybe he can reconnect through this woman who is so connected to this community that he's lost touch with.
Oh, I love so many things about this.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Particularly with the backlist books, I find that these were bigger books.
Mm.
Back in the day, 15 years ago, we're writing bigger books. 20 years ago, some of the backlist. And so what I really have to do with them is cut them back So I took out a lot of words. Didn't change the story, but you read it and you go, I can't believe this got published. So
Seriously, we're not supposed to say that. We can think it quietly to ourselves.
no, I'm being honest here. So it's nice to trim them and make them more readable, more accessible, because readers today, I don't think they want to really, get bogged down in the detail that we could get away with. It was really like writing mainstream historical fiction.
Yeah.
And
I love that. Like, I love that detail.
I love that. But I think today's romances they're trimmer, they're faster, they're more focused. When I wrote for Avon, I had to learn that. When I was writing for Penguin, it was like, how long's your book? Oh, that's fine. When I wrote for Avon, then I learned to be more efficient, right? with the research and the content. So that's where we are, and I hope that if people read them, they pick them up again, and they'll pick them up again and have a sure perspective on a little bit of a quicker read, a cleaner read, in that sense.
And it's a trilogy, so the three, this three, and then
yeah, there's connections in between, but they're not chronological necessarily. You don't have to read them in order. Just pick up the one that you're interested in. Try it.
Away we go. Awesome. Well, it sounds. I love so much about it. I love that kind of forced marriage, like and the stuff. It's like those are such good stories.
You can do so much with it.
Yeah, because somebody's going to have to be really vulnerable. Somebody's going to have to be the one that says, "This is real for me now," and that's a big thing.
Yes. Yeah. And also because it's not inaccurate. It's quite authentic to put characters in this situation in that historical setting.
Yeah.
You're still certainly doing that in Victorian. Yeah. Particularly when your father's a minister. So, right.
Awesome. Well, the other book that came out this week is April's book, and we're going to have Rakehells now. It's the Rakehells of Mayfair, and it's the third book in that series. And this one is Sins of a Rakehell. So I just like saying that word.
Me too.
Series.
Yeah, so this is the third book, and this one gave me fits. Because I had to. My other two rakehells, they're rakehells. They love being rakehells, but the third guy, he is bound and determined. Nothing's going to make him not be a rakehell until
he's working against you the whole time.
Yeah, he's been fighting it. So, and his friends that are not now married from books 1 and 2 are like, "You don't know what you're missing. This is like the greatest thing ever." And he's like, "Nope." Until he has that idea in his head, until the best friend of his best friend's sister decides to hide in his house to escape her parents, who are forcing her into a marriage that she does not want. Now, she is a little shy little wallflower, very sweet, very meek, mild, but she takes off running. She hides in this townhouse that is her best friend's, thinking that it's vacant and nobody's going to know she's there until she can figure out what to do. Well, my rakehell, Simon, decides that his family's come home. He takes it and decides he's going to move in. Well, she is hiding in the house the whole entire time. And of course, the parents are trying to track her down. They've got most of the runners coming after her, and they eventually figure out she's there at his house. So, of course, there's another forced into marriage, and he is very much against being forced into marriage. So he is not the nicest person at the beginning, but he's strangely protective of her.
Oh, okay.
Even be married to her.
The last thing we heard you say was he's strangely protective of her.
Yes, strangely protective. He doesn't want to be married, but he also doesn't want anybody messing with her or being mean to her. So it's very much that dynamic from the Regency era where, if you got caught in a scandalous situation, you were going to be basically forced into marriage. And he does it to save her reputation. So just a whole bunch of fun times ensue from that premise right there. And the whole time his friends are like, just give her a chance. You're going to fall in love with her. You just don't realize it yet. And he's fighting it the whole entire way. So I did have to do a little bit of research as to what avenues were open to a woman that did this sort of thing. I mean, you could run off and then you were just totally, if you were found in society later, you were ostracized and nobody really wanted to have anything to do with you. But I didn't want that for my little meek, mild, sweet little wallflower. And she is in love with him the whole time because that's her best friend's, brother.
She's loved him for a long time.
Yes. She's friends with the family. His family loves her. They all adore her. And he's just like, I don't have time for that. I'm a rakehell. I'm doing rakehell-y things. So,
he's gonna have to straighten up and come around because
exactly. And he definitely comes around. It takes a little bit, but she's just very quiet and determined and sweet, and she turns him around. And it's just, my rakehells are all like earls. One of them is destined to be a duke. So they don't have any highbrow, like I'm doing this and I'm doing that for society. Their whole thing is just running through the streets of London and doing what they want. Exactly. So, but all of them have a very sweet, generous streak that takes my heroine's efforts to bring out in them. And this is very, very steamy. So I've already gotten some slack. Yes, I've already gotten some flack about there probably should have been trigger warnings in this book. So, yeah, but nothing too over the top.
What did your rakehells do for me? I'm asking, but I actually don't want you to answer because that's a we'll read and find out kind of thing.
Yeah. So let's just, I don't know, you can edit this out if you want to. There's a little bit of domestic discipline going on.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
She is totally down for.
Consensual.
She figures out she likes it. Takes a few minutes, but she figures it out that she is kind of into that. And he's very patient with her. That he knows what he wants and he knows what he wants to do and he's going to do it. And it's a good thing she's along for the ride. So,
good gracious. Okay. All right. So now we all know because I have no ability to edit anything.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. It's okay. You didn't say any bad words, and it was milder than it's been on sometimes. There was one time where I put my head in my hand and said, "I'm going to make Juliana do all these from now." No, and if it's Dragonblade Flame, then we want it steamy.
Yes,
it's
definitely flame. Let's just say that. So it's probably the steamiest of the three, just simply because he is so opposed to being married and to being tied down. Yeah. So he's living for the other two that got married, his other two buddies that, they all made a pact where they were all going to remain rakehells forever and nobody was going to force them into anything. And he's very much trying to carry that torch by himself. Yeah. And the other two guys are like, dude, just let her into your heart. And he eventually does. And he realizes she's a treasure. And he is totally obsessed with her. So
I love it when they fall hard too.
Yes. He falls so hard. He falls so hard. It's not even funny. And she's just like, she's not stomping her feet. She's not throwing hissy fits. She's just, I am who I am. I'm a good person. Love me if you want to love me. If not, you go off to London and do your thing. I'll go and live in our country estate and never have to deal with society again. But I'll have your title. I'm secure. I don't have to be forced into a marriage by my parents to a totally hideous man. So yeah, it just all kind of works out. Happy endings all around.
That's what we want. That's what we live
Always
for.
what we want.
That's what we want. So is this the last book in the series?
That is the last book in the series. These were my first books with Dragonblade. So I feel like I hit a couple of little road bumps. I had some eye issues at the very beginning of my writing journey with Dragonblade. So pretty much not over those yet. Getting close to being all taken care of. So yeah, I've been writing books during that process, and that kind of made it kind of difficult and stretched out my time of writing books, but all back on track now and good to go. The book came out yesterday. Couple of little shaky reviews, but that's okay. Not everybody's cup of tea.
It's not for everybody, and you will find the readers that want it. So
exactly. So, and that I just wrote the book like I always write my books. So that's all I can do.
All you can do. Awesome. Well, you talked a little bit about doing research into what women can do, and Susan, I know you talked about trying to figure out Victorian Scotland. I wonder if you guys could talk a little bit more about the process that you go through when you're starting to plan a series or when you're working on a book, the research that you do to get your head in the right space and be able to know the characters and write from that perspective.
You know what? And I teach creative writing and research in private school. And what I tell the kids is a lot of what I do. If I really don't know the time period, I start with kids' books.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Start with, because you want to go general to specific.
Yeah.
So I start and I just absorb those DK books with the gorgeous pictures and so much great information. So I start there, and then I'm brainstorming some ideas and just get deeper and deeper, and then I try and tap what I'm good at so I can bring that in. Since I have an art history background, and so that's been very handy with the medievals that I've written, because I majored in medieval. And regency has been a learning curve for me, because I'm that rare where it was not a regency reader when I came to write romance. Yeah, so I was like, what? What?
And there's too many rules.
Too many rules.
There are a lot of rules.
A lot of rules, and when you're in Scotland, it's very much Regency in Scotland and Victorian in Scotland and medieval in Scotland are actually, there's some strong differences with the English stuff. And I've been writing Scottish set books long enough that I just I have it in my head, so that helps. But originally, you got a lot. There's a big learning curve on whatever you're going at that's new. But yeah, I start out with kids' books.
That makes sense, because they're learning the world and you're learning the world at the same time.
It helps. It really helps. And then just, figure out what you want, keep going in that direction. I find that the research often will give me something I did not have before. Particularly when you're reading about these situations, and this happened with so and so, and this year. I could pirate that. Because it actually happened. So you're starting with something that's authentic.
It's not only plausible, it's authentic.
Yeah,
Right.
It really is authentic, and it gives you a sense of what was possible in that time period, whatever it might be. So that helps a lot too. So I just, a lot of reading about people. So
Yeah, Google's my friend. If I don't know something,
yeah,
I just Google it. I have a few reference books for life in like the 18th century, um, like different things that they did back then, so that I've collected over the years. But I mean, I started off as a reader and just loved historical romance. That was my first love, and just over the years, I got to a point. I turned 50, um, almost 10 years ago, and was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to see if I can write a romance. So my first romance book I wrote was early Victorian. So it was right on the
oh,
cusp
wow.
of Regency and the Victorian era.
Yeah,
So things were changing for women then. They had a little bit more freedom, but not a lot of.
yeah.
So I just kind of segued into writing that little time frame. Um, but then when I decided I was going to write for Dragonblade, I'm like, I'm going to do straight Regency. And that's what I did. And if I don't know something, I just Google it, or I look at my little reference books and try to find the answer. Um, so yeah, that's
It's easier and easier now because you could be in the
yeah,
middle of a sentence and fly over
correct.
to Google, find out what you need to finish that sentence. You know,
Exactly.
it really
I
is
can't
so
imagine.
different.
I can't imagine writing. I mean, the process for writing books back before the internet. So, I mean, because I'm like, oh my gosh, you would spend all day at the library just surrounded by reference books and, research books and trying to find, the answers to the questions that are so easy to find now. You just pop it into a search bar and
And
there
yeah,
you go.
yeah, I was coming out of graduate school where we were just drilled with that stuff anyway. So it was
Right.
I was hardwired for that.
You already had it down pat.
Yeah, I started my first. I mean, I had always read like Victoria Holt, Mary Stuart, and that kind of thing. And I was in graduate school. With my first baby, I was on bed rest for months
Oh, wow.
and didn't expect it. Those art history books are big,
Yep.
Yeah.
so laying on the sofa all day with these great big monographs was not working. And a friend brought me a bag of paperbacks, and she said, "Try this because you're majoring in medieval." So she brought me medieval romances, and the first one I read was Wolf and the Dove.
That's
Oh,
my
Right?
first
Yes,
historical romance. I love that book.
yes, yes. And I was like, "This is amazing!"
Oh, yeah.
And so my very first book was actually set in England, in medieval England. The second one was Scotland, and I kept on going from there. Um, and I kind of took my dissertation and flipped it. I was like, "Oh, this is easy." So I didn't have to do footnotes, and that was a huge thrill. And not having to,
that's more than the research is.
not having to be responsible for your research.
Yeah.
Footnoting your romance is not going to work. So you just have to establish your credibility and hope your readers are happy with it. So that's really kind of why I didn't, sort of follow the path with the Regencies, because I was already immersed in the medieval stuff. And
Right.
so it went from there. But yeah, because we were drilled on note cards and let me see your notes, and I still have a lot of that stuff. I've got whole notebooks that were nothing but bibliography, of what we were expecting in
Right.
that program. So that was my perspective on it, and that was kind of my entry into it, was taking that sort of bag of rocks with me. Well, I work with in the library.
Right.
So yeah, but the research, it really is foundational. We're doing historical romance, and the research is foundational. Your readers are learning from you, so right. So you want to
That's what I love the best about historical romance and historical.
Yeah, I mean, April, you were learning.
Yeah.
Regency.
Still learning.
We're always learning.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of teachers in that respect.
Well, and there's a commitment that you make to being accurate and to
Yeah.
at least being plausible. It does
Right.
not have to be something that actually happened.
Yeah.
It has to be something that could happen. If I'm going to give you my time and you're going to take me on a journey, it has to be a journey that could happen, unless it's very obviously fantasy. I won.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I kind of think of it as, with one, when you're writing nonfiction history, which I've done, then you have to be so accurate, and you have to be responsible for every statement you make, and you have to back it up, and you got to have your proof, and you can't stray too far into speculation, because that's where you get into trouble with that. But in fiction, you have so much more license to do what you want, and I think of it sort of as, with one, you're establishing this world with facts. With the other one, the other world, you're kind of conjuring that world.
Yeah.
You're just giving your readers a taste of, you're using 10% of what you actually researched, but your understanding is there and you can infuse it. So it's very different, but at the same time, there's a lot of crossover. You still have to be responsible for it. At least I think, unless you're writing fantasy, you say it's fantasy, and that's fine.
Yeah, but no, if you tell me that something was a certain way, I want to know that it was a certain way, because I did what I had to do to get through my history classes. I'd never loved them. My partner loves history now, and it's really interesting to see somebody who really likes it. And it's like, for me,
I
it was
love
terrific.
But the caveat is you got to clean it up. I mean,
Yeah.
those medievals, you got to clean those people up. So, and that's where you're just hinting at that world. You're putting a light on it, but you're not looking at the nitty gritty, because that's not the point.
Yep. No,
Yeah.
that's not what we read.
And I've written mainstream historical fiction, and where it is more the point, and you can get into that deeper stuff. But the romance is,
The romance we read for a happily ever after.
for
We just pick the flavor of the happily ever after we want.
That's
So.
true.
We don't want to feel bad for these people.
Or if we do, I want to know that you're going to bring it around. Like, I don't mind if you torture them in the middle, but I want to know that you're going to bring it around, and it's.
I don't want to be depressed and philosophical at the end of this book.
Nope. I want everybody in love and moving forward. So.
Right. So,
It was such a treat talking to you today. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's
Thank
great
you.
it's great to see both of your different perspectives of writing and get to hear about your stories. It's like, I love that. So thank you again for taking the time to do it.
Thank you for having us.
yes.
I'll pop the links in the comments so you can grab them if you haven't. If you get Dragonblade books when they very, very first release, it's a very good deal. If you don't get them when they very, very first release, it's still a really good deal. And you can always read in Kindle Unlimited, which is like my most favorite way to read now, because I don't have to think about it. I just click until I fill up my little bar, and then I don't have any more spaces. So, all right, lady, thanks again for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Evelyn.
you.
Thanks, April.